first, let's talk about why you should even track your analytics. So there's a lot of different reasons, but the top three is to really understand what content you're sharing performs the best. So what's getting you the most traction? What's getting you closer to your goals? How can you either replicate what is working or adjust for the things that maybe aren't working as well? You can definitely check them in to influence that future content, right? So depending upon what you understand about how your content is performing, that should impact how you approach your content in the future. So if you have done some videos and they get a lot of engagement and you have a lot of conversation around those topics and it even brings in some new client opportunities, then you want to keep doing that, right? Whereas if maybe you share some random stock image and you're not getting as much traction with that, you maybe want to avoid doing that again. Not that it's bad to do that, but if it's not performing as well as some of your other content, you would want to shift and refocus, right? Because you want this to be getting you the best results for your efforts, right? We don't want to keep doing things that aren't moving the needle forward if we if we want to adjust anything. So that's two big things. And then also to understand your audience. So looking at your analytics, you can get a really clear picture of your audience. You can see everything from the demographics of the gender distribution to the general age groups that they're in, and even the best times and times of day and days of the week that people engage with your content, right? So obviously 3 a.m., most people are going to not be engaging with your content unless you're targeting people, maybe on the other side of the world. So 3 a.m. our time may be a good time if you are an international business to be posting for someone else's time zone. But if you're looking to connect with someone in the same area or even within, the same state or country, understanding when people are actually on the app helps you to better plan out your content and when to post it and when maybe you want to be on the app, engaging with people, having conversations, all of that good stuff. So those are just three things that are really helpful to look at when approaching your analytics, even things like understanding what's getting you the most clicks. So are people clicking on that post and then going to the link in your bio? If you have the swipe up feature, are people swiping up to what you're sharing? Are people sharing your content? Are they commenting on it? All of these different things help you to understand exactly what your content on social media is doing for you and your business. So a couple other tips is to track your Instagram progress weekly. So this is helpful in a couple of ways. One, it just allows you to make sure that you're really keeping track of it because, as I'm sure you all know, it feels like a week can go by in a blink. I don't know how we're already at the end of June. And so by tracking it weekly and getting that into a system and a routine and a rhythm, it also helps you to make sure to actually look at that on a regular basis. The other thing with doing it weekly is Instagram does not have a great historical access to data. They've improved it a lot, which is awesome. But right now you only get to look at 7, 14, or 30-day increments. So being able to track everything every week allows you to then be able to look back and say, oh, okay, over the last 90 days or, over the last 3 months, 2 months, whatever, here's all the data points that I have. Now, if you're using a third-party service or something like Creator Studio, a lot of times you can go back and look at it, all those different pieces of data, but they don't always give you the whole scope of everything, right? So you could do everything from just a basic overview of like, okay, these are the big key pieces of data I want to know, to literally taking and writing down every piece of information about, how people responded to your stories, your reels, your feed, whatever it is. You could get really, really particular. And there's a lot of data that you can get into now. It's really great how much information you're able to pull from it now. So that's a couple reasons why it's helpful to do a weekly roundup of your IG analytics. And so for me, a lot of times what I'll do is I will just schedule time the first beginning of each week or the first week of each month to record and analyze those. So we're tracking them weekly, and then I just know the first week of the month. So like next week, I'll be looking at my IG analytics for my clients and for my business at a monthly kind of view and saying, okay, this past month, this is what we did. What are the results? How many people engage with this content? What had the best engagement rate? What drove the most traffic to our website? What were the conversations like that we had? What generated conversations and what really was lacking? And so being able to look at that and knowing I'm going to do that every month helps me to then plan better for the next month. Now, normally I'm already planning for that month, right? So most of my clients and for my business, I've already planned out the content for July. But when I look at it, I can now go in and say, okay, this is my plan. How do I want to tweak it? How do I want to adjust, as opposed to having to try and create everything from scratch, right? With, that being the first week of the month, you're already into the month most of the time. And so that's a really helpful thing as well, is you can really kind of track. And again, if you're going in weekly, you can really see, don't just take the information down, but look at it and say, okay, every week I'm spending 10 minutes, I'm tracking everything. And I'm seeing that this post got a lot of great traction. I already know that when I'm creating content for the next month, I may want to replicate that kind of post. Maybe I want to spend a little extra time looking at that. So those are a few things that are really helpful, just kind of big picture workflow wise. And again, this doesn't have to be like a 30-minute thing you do. It could really take you 10, 15 minutes max if you're doing it every week, because, ideally you're not looking at a million posts. It's anywhere from like 2 to 7, maybe at most, if you post every single day. And so just being able to have that as a part of your systems helps you to also know if it's worth putting your effort into, right? So I'm a big proponent of being on the right platforms for you. So everyone wants to be on Instagram. And I've had this conversation with clients where I say, I don't think you should be there. I don't think it's worth your time right now, based on your limited resources. And that could be time, money, personnel, content, whatever it is. If you have a limited amount of resources, make sure you're on the right platform. And for a lot of people, Instagram is a great platform to be on, but it's not the perfect platform for everybody. Even for my business, it's not where I generate a lot of my customers and clients, right? But it is where they might go to see, okay, what's this business about? What is she doing? Does she know what she's talking about? And so just knowing those kinds of things, knowing where people would expect to find you, find your company, find information about you, can be helpful as well. So analytics help speak into that. So you could do 6 months on Instagram, a year on Instagram. And if you're not getting any traction, if it's not supporting you at all with your goals, then you don't necessarily have to do it. But you can have the data to support that, right? As opposed to just guessing. So those are a couple different reasons why your analytics are so important. All right, that's big picture. Let's jump into looking at a little more closely. So these are screenshots pulled from Creator Studio. A lot of times though, I just go directly into the Instagram app and pull them. And I'll also take the analytics from Loomly, which is the third-party scheduling service I use. So depending upon what platforms you use, whether you manually put everything in directly into Instagram, or if you use some kind of scheduler, seeing if they have some kind of recording system for your analytics is helpful. But if not, you can always go into your Creator Studio, which is connected to your Instagram and Facebook, or just go directly into the app. I 99% of the time just end up going into the app anyway, as I'm kind of making my analysis. So impressions, the first thing to look at, and impressions are the number of times your posts have been seen during a particular time frame. So whether it's, your 7-day period, 14 or 30 days, whatever that is, it's going to tell you how many times your posts have been seen. So this screenshot says that in the last 7 days, I've had, 416 accounts have seen this post, and that has been an increase from the previous 7 days. That's what that little green icon means. And so this is super, super helpful because it helps you to understand things like, am I posting at the right time? Am I posting on the right days? Do I need to do some kind of advertisement, right? So do I want to boost a post to really push it out into the world so that more people will see it? Or do I am I getting enough impressions for it to be worth my time and energy and all that kind of stuff? And then you can also see, okay, if I have 400 impressions, let me look at my click rate or my engagements. And if only 2 people or 3 people are liking it, but over 400 people have seen it, that tells me something, right? I couldn't assume or infer that maybe the content wasn't interesting to somebody. Maybe it was not eye-grabbing enough, so maybe they just scrolled right past it, so they saw it, but they didn't do anything with it. Or maybe people just didn't like it, and so they didn't bother to engage with it. And so that can also be helpful as well. Or maybe I get 300 likes, and maybe I have a bunch more followers than that, and I'm like, oh gosh, I have 300 likes, but I have 10,000 followers. Okay, well, if it was only shown to 400 people, then you know that you're actually doing really, really well. Now, granted, if you have 10,000 followers, it doesn't always mean that they wouldn't go to all those people. So don't get too hung up on that ratio. But that's another thing that can be really helpful to know is like, okay, are a majority of the people who are seeing this engaging with the content? And if they're not, let me think about why that might be the case. And if they are, let me also think about why that might be the case and see if I can replicate that for future posts. So that is impressions. The second piece that is really helpful to look at is interaction. So this is any type of action someone takes on your account, whether it's visiting your profile, clicking on your website, anything to do with your profile. So it's more than just likes or reactions to something. It's really looking at the different actions that people are taking. And this is really helpful to understand where your content is driving traffic. So as we can see, when I took this information, I had a dip in action. So something that I posted at the beginning of that time period got a lot of interaction, and then it dipped, and then it went back up again. And so I can look at that and see, okay, what drove people to go check out my profile? So maybe they found my post amongst hashtags or in their feed, and then they click to it to go and visit my profile and see the rest of my posts, or maybe to click on my website or things like that. And if you're a specific location, getting direction, like all those different things, it can help you to understand what it is that your content is driving people to do. So let's say I'm posting a lot and I'm getting a lot of likes and shares and things like that, which is all wonderful. But my goal is to get people to go to my website. I can look at these numbers and say, okay, well, if 35 people went to my website, did I have any traffic during that time period that resulted in some kind of interaction? So did someone email me? Did someone call me? Did someone leave a comment on the blog post I shared? Like, what is it that people are doing that I can figure out based on this data? And a lot of this is inferring. A lot of it is trying to guess what the heck people are doing, right? And sometimes it could just be they're like, oh, this is a pretty picture. Let me see what other pretty picture she has. Oh, cool. Okay. And that's it. So this is a really helpful tool to understand what people are doing once they engage with and see your content, and if it's driving people to your website or to whatever it is that you want them to go click on. So that's another really key one to look at. All right, so talking a little bit more about website clicks, obviously it's exactly what it sounds like. It is getting the data on how many people have clicked on your website, and this one shows me that it's 2 less from the previous 7 days. And so I want to now go and look at my content for that time period and say, okay, what is it that I was sharing that resulted in fewer website clicks? Did I not have a direct call to action? You know, was I telling people in those previous posts to go click on the link in my bio? And then these next few posts, I did not have that call to action. Were there stories maybe that I was creating, or reels or IGTVs or live videos that were calling people to take action that maybe I wasn't doing that for this last period of time? And then also even looking at like, okay, 35 people visited my profile, but they didn't all click through to my website. And so again, it's just inferring like, what could that mean? Could it be that maybe people found my website and then went to my Instagram to kind of see what it is I do, get a better understanding of who I am, what my business is about, and then they just went back to the website? And so that could even maybe be a key piece, is like, you know, are people finding me in a different way, going to my website, finding my social from my website, and going to my web or going to my social media accounts, my Instagram account through my website. And again, those are things that you'd really have to dig into, like your website analytics and like all that kind of stuff. And it can become a big rabbit hole. But I know, like for me, having talked to a lot of my clients recently, just getting their thoughts and even thinking back on, when I ask people, hey, how did you discover me? Or how did you find me? A lot of times what they're saying is, oh, so-and-so recommended you. So I went to your website and then I liked what I saw and I went and checked out your social and now I contacted you, right? So it's almost this reverse process of they're not discovering me on social. They're actually going to my social to make sure that I'm legitimate. And that happens a lot more now as well, as people want this kind of proof of concept of your business of saying, okay, do they actually know what I'm doing? Especially if I, offer social media services, they want to see what I do with my own social media. See if maybe there's even other clients that I showcase that they could check out and be like, could this be the right fit for us? So even thinking about that kind of process, ask yourself, what are these analytics telling me about my client interactions as a whole or my potential client interactions as a whole? And do I need to make adjustments in my approach based on what I'm seeing? So that was a little bit of a tangent, but I thought that was super helpful when I kind of pieced those things together to know that my clients are typically going to my Instagram, not necessarily to find me, but to kind of validate and get some validation as to what I say I do, to my business, all that kind of stuff. So consider that for your business as well. Are people maybe going to your social platforms from your website or from a referral more than they're just discovering you there? That can also be a super helpful tool because it now tells me that I want to post more about showcasing my expertise on my Instagram than anything else. So just some helpful things there that are really simple. And of course, there's like a million more things that you can do and find on Instagram, but it would take us forever. So those are a couple big key pieces to look at. And so when I was doing this process and everything, I decided to change my call to action in my bio to really make sure that it was clear what people are getting into. So, get your sheet is really fun, right? I enjoy that. It's kind of a fun play on words, but it's not clear. So by being able to instead change it to resources for you, when I'm telling people, hey, go get this, free template or get this out of the link in my bio or whatever it is, that is a much more clear and direct way to tell people what it is they're going to click on. So a couple other things, I reviewed my top posts in Instagram and I saw that a lot of my highest engaging posts were ones that were actually photos of me. So people like to see people on Instagram. And then I had a click to my website and it was about this playlist that I used to do for Monday Morning Fix that I have not done for a while, that I thought, oh, maybe I could bring it back. But my farthest reaching post was one where I really shared about coaching and some insecurities I felt. So just being really human. So what I learned from that process is like, oh, okay, I should really be talking about the human side of my business, right? About me and all that kind of stuff. Or at least that's what my audience interacts with the most. So adjusting some of my tactics to kind of meet that can be super, super helpful. And then I'll send out, the link for this PowerPoint as well, so you can get access to that video that I'm linked in there on how to access the specific highlights or insights for your post. So that's what that'll be about, but we don't have time to look at it right now because I want to give us plenty of time for the Q&A. So what questions do you all have for me about Instagram analytics? And if you don't have any, that is all right as well. All right, if we don't have any questions, not a problem. I will just do some quick wrap up. And if you think of anything in the meantime, feel free to pop it into one of these Q&A or chat boxes, or feel free to email me. All right, so like I said at the beginning, this is our final digital marketing mini session. I've been doing these for over a year now, which is mind-boggling to me, but also super exciting. And so it's a very kind of bittersweet time because I am starting the membership. If you aren't familiar with it or you haven't heard about it, I am now offering a membership starting on July 1st to offer these educational videos and some additional support and accountability, because what I learned from you all and other participants in the over 300 subscribers, which is also an incredible number, is that people really needed a little bit of extra accountability to help implement the things that they were learning. And so by creating this membership, my goal is to help people continue to learn and grow and experience, what it's like to kind of get some consultation without having to worry about scheduling specific time or, maybe going over their budget, and also get some accountability. So if you want to save 10% off of your first month with the membership, make sure to click the launch list link in the follow-up email so you will get that discount code on July 1st. So I'm super excited about that, and I hope you guys will join me in that membership. All right, we had one question come up real quick. So Elizabeth wants to know how well videos tend to perform on Instagram. Do you have insights? Yes, videos, especially videos done well, perform better than pretty much anything else on most platforms, because people are really keen to consume content via video. That's why TikTok has, just gone off the walls, crazy popular, and things like that. So I definitely recommend doing video, creating video content. But with Instagram, what I've seen, and this is just my personal observation, so you could definitely try it out. But a lot of times, as in comparison to TikToks, people expect Instagram videos to be slightly more produced, right? So it's more of making sure that it looks right, that you kind of have everything together, and that it's kind of produced almost in this little way. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular, but making sure you have good lighting, that kind of stuff is really important. Whereas on TikTok, people are like holding their phone basically so you can see up their nose. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. So yes, videos perform really, really well. Especially, and for what I've seen, most of the time, it doesn't even matter what type of industry you're in, right? So you could have a product, you could be a coach, you could have a course, you could have some kind of services, like whatever it is, as long as the video is engaging to your audience, it'll perform really well. So great question. Although I can't guarantee anything, but it does perform better than most. So, all right. Well, if there's any other questions, you guys know how to connect with me. I'm so thankful for everyone who has participated in these mini sessions over the last year. And if there's anything I can ever do, feel free to reach out. Have a great weekend, you guys. Bye.